Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this beautiful Monday morning with David.
Hello.
And we are here, as you can probably tell by the smile on my face, we are here to talk about how to find joy. And that's not, we'll explain and we'll give some practical approaches and wisdom and inspiration, but I think in today's day and age, it's an important conversation because the things that we thought brought us joy before aren't necessarily accessible. And we want to talk about the innate mechanism that we have to create our joy regardless of what's happening around us at any given moment. The Weekly Energy Boost is 50-minute, 45-minute foray into it's really a spiritual weather forecast. It helps us understand the energy, the opportunities that are there for us this week, the potential challenges, and that wisdom, those prescriptions translate into everyday life lessons that we hope our listeners take into their lives with them after the show. We do this every Monday morning on Facebook, but you can find us also on Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere else you find your podcasts. David, you don't look so joyous right now.
No,
I'm more joyful.
I'm just listening to you. It's good. I also think that even though it's a 45-minute segment, that people don't always have the time to just block out 45 minutes. And if I had a segment like this and I wanted to extract some secrets from it, I tell people, even if you just tune in for 5 minutes and you ask the universe to give you a message, those 5 minutes can be so powerful. You'll pick up one thing that will change your life. I finished a book recently, one of our Kabbalah books, and probably took me about 3 hours to finish it. And I got one thing. And I realized it's really just one concept that stays with you forever. You do a lot of work to mine for that concept. But if you're open and you make the effort and you just check in with us every week on this show, you'll get that one concept. You don't even need to hear the whole show, even though the whole show has a lot of secrets.
It's just a brilliant 45 minutes, if we do say so ourselves. But absolutely, I think that even in preparation for every week's show, there's always one thing that comes out at me that stays with me for the rest of the week. So it's good to remind everybody there won't be a quiz tomorrow on everything we spoke about. It's really more finding that nugget for yourself and holding on to it.
That's correct.
So where do we begin?
Well, I know you wanted to share a little secret about the difference between joy and happiness. Let's try to delineate that for our audience.
Right. We've done many shows about happiness in the past, and I think it's definitely a buzzword. I'm sure if you put it into Google, how can I be happy? How do I find joy, etc. I think in English we find them to be synonymous, but in my experience in spirituality, they really feel like two different things.
Yeah.
To me, joy is something that we create. It is an energy. It is a conscious decision and something that we can choose to. And I wrote down how to find it and keep it ignited. Okay. So we can talk about that as well. But joy is a mindset. Maybe that's the most easy way to access that idea. Happiness is what happens to us.
Okay.
Right? And we might even create happiness. I know that I'm going to get to spend time with my family this weekend, even though I know also after the show I'll get to spend time with my family. But let's say I have something to look forward to, or I know, I'm grateful for something that happened in my life. I can be happy about it. But joy is really an undercurrent. It's something that, I may have a difficult day. I can still choose joy, even though I'm not happy about what just happened at the office, or I had my kids are making life difficult for me right now. So I may not be happy, but I can still be connected to that energy called joy. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How can we be connected to that energy called joy, regardless of what's taking place around us and sometimes even within us, right? We may be frustrated. Again, I see it often in people's lives. I think about not only us as Kabbalah teachers, but I work with a lot of students who are deeply passionate about their career, very driven about their work that they do. And therefore, they have that joy about it, but they still have tough days at the office. They still have challenging things they need to deal with. It maybe they're not excited. Right? I think that maybe we have that unreasonable expectation to be happy all the time.
So what we learn in Kabbalah is happiness and or joy is determined by what's going on in our consciousness. And our consciousness, as defined Kabbalistically, are the thoughts, the words, and the actions that we express out to the world. So positive consciousness are the thoughts, words, and actions that build, that create, that follow the spiritual laws that we discuss here at Kabbalah. Negative consciousness, which a lot of us probably know what that means, are all the lack-induced, coming from a reactive place, fearful place, all the negative stuff that we are accustomed to on a thought level, on a word level, and eventually manifests as the action level. And there is a direct correlation based on where your consciousness is. That's going to translate into your level of happiness and joy. Okay, so that's just the starting point of first thing I wanted to say, because sometimes people forget. People think, all of us, this happens to all of us. We feel lack and emptiness inside because we forget that it has to do with what's going on in our head, not with a result I got or didn't get. That's where most people feel pain, a result they didn't get that they wanted, a doubt about their future. A lot of times people are happy or joyful because they're expecting something. I'm going to get something. Something is coming my way. They're excited about something that hasn't happened yet, and then all of a sudden it's not going to happen, or there's a pause.
Someone disappoints them.
Someone disappoints them, or even they're afraid that someone might disappoint them. So even though their life might be perfect today, they're upset at the fact that someone might disappoint them. So all of a sudden they're stripped of that joy. So at the end of the day, we're learning it has nothing to do with what's going on in the physical world. It all has to do with what's going on in the mind. And there's a beautiful story. I share this story all the time. I don't know if I shared it on the radio show, but one time I had a student, this was many years ago, this was probably like 10 years ago, and she's calling me just devastated and totally like shook up. And she's like, I'm like, what's going on? She said, my boyfriend just decided that he doesn't want to be with me. And it's very painful for me, and she's crying, and I'm going to be alone. Have I shared this story before?
It's not familiar to me.
I'm going to be alone, and the whole thing, right? The whole thing. She's like hysterical on the phone. And it's funny because right before that, I was talking with our astrologer in New York, and she's sharing something very powerful for me. She said, if you ever have any students like this week, like bad relationships are going to end, and it's going to open the door to a soulmate. It was like some astrological thing she was sharing with me, like right before this woman called me. And I said, it's so crazy that you're calling, because I just spoke with our astrologer, who she also respects. And I said, she was just telling me, and I think it's kind of a sign from the Creator that this is the week that bad relationships will end, and it's going to end. If it ends now, it's mercy, and it's going to open the gate to a soulmate. All of a sudden, that's it. She's not crying anymore. She said, oh my God, really? Like the pain is all gone. The fear is all gone. The worry is all gone. Even though she just lost this relationship from this guy that she loved, all of a sudden she's like in a good mood. She's like, wow, thank you so much. I really think that's a great sign. And that's it. She hangs up the phone. So I realized it has nothing to do with what happens physically. She still lost the relationship before and after what I told her. But her consciousness changed. Something changed in her mind. Yes, because of knowledge she learned from the astrologer. But the idea is that that's how powerful consciousness is. It completely determines how we feel.
You know what's interesting? Last week on the show we spoke about how when you're reading a book, right? You just read until you get inspired and then you put the book down. I had a moment. Your story illustrates what my nugget from last week was, and I'm going to share it because the truth is I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it was the gist was that we're only one thought away from having a completely different experience.
That's beautiful.
Think about that for a second. We are always only one thought away from drastically changing our experience. And David, that story is a perfect illustration of that. I'm sure she still mourned the loss of the relationship,
sure.
and there's painful memories that come up every now and again
sure.
in the process. But that realization that this not only can be the gateway, but this is the gateway for an even better relationship, completely transforms the breakup. And that is a perfect illustration of how she's not happy in the moment, but she's connected to joy. And through everything that we're going through, there's a lot of opportunity these days for fear, for, I think actually, David, you mentioned over the last few weeks that we've been staying at home, that there are people who are thriving, right? There are some people who are...
I talk to more thriving people than non-thriving people.
Well, you also talk to a very unique population.
Oh, don't pigeonhole me like that.
No, but
a unique population. You hear that, guys?
Unique demographic.
If I speak to you, you're part of the unique population.
But in actuality, that's the illustration of what we're talking about. Those people that are thriving are choosing to be connected to their purpose, are choosing to see the good, and therefore stay connected to that vibe, that mindset that consciousness called joy.
Yeah.
So, another really great illustration I remember of this concept is that, you don't like your kids every day, you don't like your spouse every day, but you love them every day. Right? So that moment to moment, and, let's be real, right? We're on the show, we're all about being real. We have our moments, right, where we don't we don't agree, we don't. Again, David was talking about expectations. I get home, I want the kids to have cleaned everything up and put everything away, and everybody, runs up to me and says, "I love you, mommy." That doesn't happen. I can still be joyous about the blessings in my life and the appreciate. It's like a conglomeration of everything we've been talking about these last few weeks. And again, if you're new to the show, if you're here listening with us for the first or second time, I always encourage you to go back and listen to a few previous shows so that you can catch the vibe that we're in right now, because there's always the weekly energy, but the weekly energy, the weeks before and after every week are connected.
Right. So I have a couple tools, Kabbalistic tools and secrets to share with our audience. Number one, it's important to know, when you know how the world works energetically, which is the power of Kabbalah, it gives you strength to weather any storm and to understand the pain. Because truthfully, the reason why we're not happy is because we don't understand the pain. People are okay with going through pain. People are okay with going through challenges. In fact, they'll even put themselves in a painful, challenging situation as long as they understand it, as long as they understand what it's yielding. A great case in point is people who go to the gym. You're willingly paying to have someone punish you, right? I mean, there's even more deviant. It came to my mind from a show we were watching last night. There's even more deviant ways where people pay to punish them. Right? I think we've talked about it on the show before. But why would somebody pay to be punished? And the reason is because they understand that pain. They understand that pain brings them something. So they go into it. You go to a gym, you get sore, you get exhausted, you get drained.
A person gets pregnant, they know that there's going to be discomfort in it,
Completely.
But the discomfort, or the pain, if we're honest, is worth the results.
Right, and the Kabbalists say that when a woman gets pregnant, she actually swears to herself that she's never going to do it again. After when she gives birth, she swears and she curses the whole process and says, "I'm never going to do it again." But that the Creator deletes that from her mind.
It's unbelievable how you just forget completely what that pain is and go right head first into it.
Sure. And my wife tells me all the time, this is the last one. I said, I totally understand. and then of course it's deleted from her memory when birth happens. Okay. So the secret is that, the secret I wanted to share is that there's always going to be two phases to a person's life before they reveal something new. So every new pleasure that we're looking for always has two phases to it. And these two phases are there because, as we learn in Kabbalah 1, this concept of bread of shame, which means that every soul in this world must earn their fulfillment. It can't be given free. It creates pain for the soul when something is revealed for free without work on the soul's part. Therefore, there's always a process. So what are these two phases? There's a phase of concealment, where things are concealed from you. That can be represented by you feel confused, you feel uninspired, you feel angry, you feel emotional, you feel dark, nothing makes sense. Your schedule is totally ruined and out of place, this is a place of concealment. Even concealment has two phases without going so much into it. The first level is you know you're in concealment. You know you're in a bad mood. You know you're afraid, but you're kind of positive about it. And then the second level of concealment is you're so dark that you literally you start to do destructive things. And you go into such a place where you start planting horrible seeds and you go to a really bad place spiritually. So these are two levels of concealment. But after the concealment, there's always the revelation of light. There's always that amazing miracle. Now, our free will is not whether we go through concealment or not. Everybody must go through it. The most spiritual people must go through it. It's how long you stay in that dark place and how great the revelation will be after you're done with it. And that's our free will. That's what we learn in Kabbalah. And why that's amazing is because I'll wake up. There'll be days that I wake up totally like no energy, like it could be today.
Shocking truth about David Ghiyam.
It could be a Monday that I know I have the radio show and I'm thinking to myself, well, who cares about the radio show? Like who cares about any of this stuff? Like everyone's annoying. Everything is dumb.
Including me.
I'm like, oh, I got to go see Elisheva. Like, I mean, Elisheva's great. Why do I? But you just feel like, what's the point of anything? And everybody goes, and when I go through something like that, I actually, because we know this wisdom, I think to myself, okay, this is concealment. It's very powerful. I want to now take advantage of the concealment, knowing that there's a revelation coming. So I want to speed up the revelation and I want to make the revelation very powerful. So the tool I use at that moment is I don't trust my feelings. As Pisces, our feelings are our North Star. It's how we make decisions in life. So I just tell myself, I don't trust my feelings. I don't care about my feelings, whether I feel good, I feel bad, I feel inspired, I don't. I'm going to follow my structure of work, my structure of prayer, my structure of adding value. I don't need to be inspired to follow my structure. It's easier to follow your structure when you're inspired, but I don't need inspiration to follow the structure. So when people go through dark times, what they do is they throw the baby out with the bathwater and they just start to go into a negative space.
I don't feel like it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be self-destructive. People just become self-destructive. And that's what prolongs the concealment. So this knowledge that there's always two phases, and whenever I feel I'm in the concealment, I just immediately switch on a new mode that says, don't trust my feelings. Let's keep planting seeds. Let's keep moving forward. And let's keep having certainty.
Well, we have a really great question in the comments that I want to address, but I also want to expand it. The question is about how to, what mantra can I say to myself as a mom that will help me experience joy without feeling overwhelmed when my children have 1,000 requests and I'm trying to take care of them as individuals, that.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm going to broaden the question because it's not only about being a mom. I'm sure that there's plenty of people at work that feel that way, in their relationship that feel that way, in their, I don't know, even in their self-care. There's so many things I should do, but I don't feel like it right now. How can I push myself over that speed bump that's making me not feel it?
Well, address the mom. By the way, as a mom, address the moms. I think going granular is powerful for
Okay,
us.
I'm saying whatever the answer is going to be for the mom, it's going to be expansive.
Yes.
One of the things that I find in any situation that you're uncomfortable or impatient about is that we're waiting for it to get better, right? We're saying to ourselves, they're little now, one day I'm going to sleep through the night. Or, right now they're terrible twos, I'm going to, whatever this phase is, it's soon going to be over. Even I think in relationships,
you're talking about the moms, right?
I'm talking to the moms.
Don't disrespect the moms.
I'm not disrespecting the moms.
Don't go too broad and say for everyone.
I'm in the middle of a parenting course, okay? I'm not disrespecting the moms. But that the realization that the only place where I have power is right now. Mm-hmm. That to me wakes me up from that waiting mode. That's nice. Right? It absolutely will get better. That is the nature of life. Even if there's we say 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Even if you're in the 1 step back, there are 2 steps forward afterwards. Mm-hmm. So the aha moment or the realization, or maybe we can extract a mantra from this, is there's light that I can only reveal right now, and I want to be present for it.
Right.
I don't want to lose it. I don't want to miss it. Creator, please show me what is the light that I need to reveal right now? And again, because I'm especially, I think, I don't know if you find this as well, David, but whenever I'm teaching a course about something, or I'm teaching a class about a topic, the universe throws all these examples. In the parenting class that I'm teaching, we spoke this week about how our children reflect our own tikkun, our own soul's correction process, right back at us.
Yes.
So I had all of these examples of, my children behaving exactly like me, not necessarily in a positive way. And it was such a beautiful, because I was able to pause, and there we go again, the requirement, the necessity is really the pause.
You can't be spiritual without the pause.
Right. The pause was what allowed me to say, oh my goodness, I can get reactive about what's going on right here, or I can take the cue card from the universe and recognize she is behaving this way because I behave this way.
Right.
And that's joy. Having that aha moment, recognizing that this is all a setup for me, brings me back. I may not, I may be irritated and annoyed, but it was such a fulfilling moment to know the universe is perfect. This is all rigged for my benefit, and I can change it if I want to. And I can tell you, having older kids, actually one of my older kids asked me, can you tell me what each one of us reflects for you?
Really?
Yes. I'm not going to go through it here on the show, of course, but, they growing up Kabbalah and recognizing that there's more than meets the eye. I was sharing with them like, oh, it makes me crazy when so-and-so does this, but look at, I have it as well. And that's why it makes me crazy.
What a conversation to have with your kids.
So again, I still have buttons that can be pushed. And when they get pushed, I am irritated / upset / sad / even, Amalia, even overwhelmed. Yeah. I don't want to sit here and say I don't get overwhelmed. I have, 4 kids at home who are trying to go, do classes. I'm on the phone with students. I'm preparing to teach at night. Like, there is definitely room for overwhelm, and there may be overwhelm, and that's okay. But I'm also connected to the bigger picture where I'm saying, wow, pause, what a pleasure. This is awesome. This is exactly what the doctor ordered, and I'm going to get through it. It's not about getting through it. That light that's available only now is the purpose.
We all have certainty that when we feel sore from the gym, that no one's upset about being sore. They wear it as a badge of honor. They know that any part of themselves that is sore becomes muscle, becomes beauty. And we all have certainty about that. We don't have certainty that when somebody breaks our heart or betrays us, that feeling of sore, if I can say it like that, becomes muscle, becomes beauty. We don't have that certainty because the opponent, that negative force in this world that we all have to some degree, convinces us that the wound will last forever, that the happiness is not imminent or forthcoming. And so then we have doubt. And all that doubt does is it delays the revelation of what's meant for your soul. So imagine if you did go to the gym and you were sore and you had doubts whether you would build muscle. Like you just had a doubt, you had fear, you had worry, you maybe even ran to the urgent care and you're like, oh my God, I went to the gym yesterday and today I'm sore. They'd look at you funny. But let's say you had this doubt, and that doubt actually caused you not to build muscle. So even though you went to the gym for 3-4 hours and you ate perfectly and you slept well, muscle still wouldn't be built because you had doubt about it. Obviously, that's not the case because the body's going to do what the body's going to do. But spiritually, when it comes to every other part of your life, if you're going through a painful situation and you don't need to know how it's going to be great, but if you have doubt that it will become great, you are extending and prolonging the concealed phase.
You know what we're talking about next week?
What's next week?
Certainty.
Oh, is that what it is?
Certainty and uncertain times. So you're
oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. That's right. That's
you're foreshadowing next week's energy. So again, you see the connection.
Whole class about certainty.
Right?
Yes.
So
we got a question here from Storm. This is actually something that I get a lot, which is if I talk to people and they say, the truth is I'm not that upset right now. I'm happy. I feel bad. I feel bad about being happy while so many people are not happy. So the juxtaposition of being happy while not being obnoxious, right? Because if you have that, you always have that person who's just happy and says, I'm great. I don't know what's wrong with you. You just get your act together. It's kind of a mindset, and that can be obnoxious. So one way of answering this, I'd love to hear yours, is Rav Ashlag is one of the Kabbalists. He's clear about the idea that you should feel one thing internally, but externally be there for the people. So internally, to have joy, to have certainty, to have inner peace. Externally, to connect with people on their level, where they're at, where their pain is. So don't be obnoxious and bring that internal joy and certainty and thrust it upon people, expecting them to get their act together. So that's also very spiritual. People usually do it the opposite way. They internally are sad and scared and afraid, and then externally they're putting on a facade, they're putting on an image which is not accurate. So it's to have it the other way around.
We opened last week a live global Kabbalah 1 course on last Tuesday, which you can still join, by the way, if you're interested.
It's free.
It was such an amazing thing. Almost 1,400 people from all over the world. People logging in and saying hi from Iran, hi from
I heard that number. I heard we have 2,500
now. The registrations continue. One of the questions that we had, with the first class,
you moderate the questions,
right? So we had the Eitan who's teaching the course, Eitan Yardeni, was talking about pause, what a pleasure, which we talk about on the show constantly. And somebody said, well, if I don't get angry, I'm going to appear weak. And so it reminded me exactly of this. It's another version of this question is, if I am good, if I am proactive, if I am enjoying the process and I'm embracing the opportunity that the person is giving me and I'm not getting angry, I'm going to look weak. And it's the same thing, right? Not that I'm saying, the answer to him wasn't get angry on the outside and pause what a pleasure on the inside. Right. There is I think one of the things that helps us maintain this energy of joy is when we don't allow our emotions to be disparate, that we're not naively excited and happy and, negligent of the reality that's going on. And we're not low, beating ourselves up, rehashing the past, wallowing in darkness, right? Yep. When we bring those two peaks closer together, it's easier to stay connected. And as David was saying, I might not be able to see why this is happening, or I might not be able to see the end of the process, but I can still be connected to that idea that this is part of my life's perfect plan. And it's getting me where I want, the gym metaphor doesn't so much work because the lactic acid buildup is going to break up eventually if it's 2 days or a week or whatever. But the reality is, and I want to go through the prescription, the 4 things we can do to make sure that we're staying connected to that energy of joy.
Have 4 things? You have 4 things?
I did quite a bit of studying this weekend, and I found 4 things. Some of them are easier than others, of course.
Give it to us.
Okay, so the first thing is living authentically.
Okay.
And I think that finding joy means being connected to what do you really want, who you really are, and what you need to work towards.
Oh, so that is so powerful that you said that. I have a comment about it, but keep going. I'll share it later.
I wrote it down as living authentically, but the Cliff Notes reader in me wants to say, it's not about living authentically, it's about being honest with yourself.
It's something that's actually I see in relationships and couples counseling that people end up changing who they are or shutting down or suppressing a part of themselves to make the other person happy. And always it blows up. It always blows up. There's obviously a place for compromise, but I hear so often how people feel suppressed, especially in our day and age. They feel suppressed and they don't feel authentic. They don't love what they love. It can even be with Kabbalah and spirituality. We have people who are so excited about Kabbalah, who love it, change their lives. And then they go home and their partner or their spouse is like, okay, it's nice. I'm happy you're doing it. And there's this clash energetically. And oftentimes what the excited Kabbalah student does is try to force upon the other person this energy, this consciousness, this way of life. And it's so dangerous because it's like the way I think about it is the creator doesn't force it into us. The creator doesn't force these concepts into all of mankind. You see how very little people actually study Kabbalah or any spiritual wisdom. The Creator is very patient. The Creator knows that this energy gradually will come into each person at the right time in the right way. So where do we get off coercing or forcing people to be inauthentic to who they are at that moment? That was great. Keep going.
That to me, again, it's like, you may say things to yourself internally, it doesn't bother me, but it does. And knowing what bothers you is essential to transformation, right?
That's right.
We've
Being
talked about
honest with
this
yourself, that's so good.
many different shows. Okay, number 2, and again, we're going to dedicate next week's show to talking about this, certainty in the Creator's plan for me.
Okay.
That even if I don't see what's going on right now, I don't see the end of the process, I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, I don't know why this person is in my life. There's a lot of question marks that appear as we go during our day. Nonetheless, we maintain the conviction that if it's in my path, it's perfect for me.
Sure. That's
and
good.
that, I think it's easier in some moments than in others, like the pain at the gym, right? It may be easier there. It may be more difficult when someone appears to be hurting you or doing something that is preventing you from something that you want.
Yep.
Number 3 is, and this is the difficult one, is attaching ourselves to life, that energy of living, creating, being a force, maybe the opposite is something people will resonate more, being a victim, right? That a lot of us, again, that goes back to that idea that one thought can change my reality in an instant. When we go through life feeling victim, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless, giving our power to someone else or something else, we are disconnecting ourselves from our own source, right? It's not about being separate from something up in the sky in the heavens. It's like we unplug our battery. And when you're unplugged from your own battery, when you're disconnected from your own source, your own soul, it's very difficult to maintain numbers 1 and 2.
So I have a comment about that. Not being a victim, the cousin of victim consciousness, usually what happens, the offshoot, maybe not the cousin, maybe the eventual son, the son that that victim consciousness gives birth to, is that people become, the Kabbalists talk about this, people become overly careful and overly smart, and they start overthinking things. So if you find yourself...
I wish I had popcorn. I'm so...
yeah, you're engaged.
Wow.
It's because of my pause. It's the way I paused between my
No,
words.
I don't think I've ever heard this before. It's like...
Yes. So again, another secret from Rav Ashlag. He says that sometimes in the beginning, people have this like certainty where they're just breaking their fears and taking risks. And they see a lot of... He says they have a zest for life. It's going to remind me of what you said. They have a zest. And then what happens is some pain, they get hurt. It's all part of the process, it's all part of the concealment. But then this pain causes them now to be overly careful, overthinking too much. So in the beginning, maybe you gave to everyone all the time. Like people needed something, you gave. Now that you gave maybe to one person and they hurt you, so now you're overly thinking about it. Like, say, what does this person deserve it? Do they not deserve it? Should I give? I'm not going to give anymore. So you start thinking. And Rav Ashlag says...
Being the universe's accountant.
Exactly. So he says that when people become too smart for their own good, they're overly smart, they're overly careful, then how do you know you've done that? You lose the zest for life. If you find that life is not sizzling for you, it means that you've gone too far to the other extreme, overly calculating, judging every scenario, taking risks. You're annoyed when people ask you for stuff. You're like, why are you bothering me? As opposed to in the beginning, maybe you were just so like open and free and a risk taker. So in Kabbalah, we try to find ourselves in the middle. So that's the son. That's the son. What's it when an illegitimate son?
A victim
consciousness. All right, keep going.
Okay, so number 4, and this is really, we alluded to this in the explanation about today's show, is pushing ourselves. If you want to experience lasting, or, I don't want to make it seem like it's fireworks, but unending connection to that energy called joy, we need to be constantly pushing ourselves to do the sharing actions we don't want to do. That is like an immediate jump start to that energy of joy. And I think, a lot of people hear that phrase, especially if you've been on a spiritual journey or you've been studying Kabbalah, you hear, doing actions, sharing uncomfortably. You think, well, if I don't want to, do you want me to share with you? Do you want me to share because I don't want to or because I don't like it? Or I'm going to wait until I like it. I'm going to wait until I feel like it, and then I'm going to share. The Kabbalists teach that comfort zone, if you want to even like imagine a circle, right? I have all the ways that I share that are comfortable for me, and I'm good at it, right? Mm-hmm. I love, fill in your own blanks. I love doing X, Y, and Z for my friends and family. I love spending time with my family. And I've used this example in the past. I had a conversation with a Kabbalah student years ago who was volunteering every Tuesday and Thursday. You remember this? You remember this story?
Yes, I do.
She said, and she's looking to change it up a little bit. We talked about how she needs to create more miracles in her life. She's kind of been coasting for a while. So I said, what if you switch your volunteering to Sunday?
We talked about this last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks? I did not. I can't remember the last time I said
there was
this.
a couple weeks ago.
No way.
Yeah, keep going. And I think you said the same thing. You said that.
50 first dates. There is no way I'm sharing my Sunday, right? So she, Sundays are my time, right? So she doesn't mind giving part of her work day to a worthy cause, but Sundays are a no-go. And that realization, right? It doesn't have to be sitting on, walking on coals for other people. It can be simply doing something that inconveniences you a little bit. What ends up happening is it becomes part of your convenience when it's a repetitive, the same way that you train your legs to be able to run for 30 minutes, you can train yourself to incorporate even more sharing into your life and therefore reveal even more light.
I have an example for you. I do hope my wife doesn't listen to the show. I don't think she does, so I'm going to share the example. All my stories are now quarantine stories, but I'll share something so practical. I was sitting at the table. I was working on my laptop, and my wife's like pointing. She was going upstairs. She's just like, "Can you take the laundry basket upstairs when you go upstairs?" I said, "Yeah, sure."
But
I went back.
Forgot.
Well, no. Here's the thing. If I don't do something on the spot, I will forget. So I just said sure, and I went back to my laptop, and I told myself, hopefully I remember.
That's what Alexa's for, and Siri, and all those other things.
That's the thing. That effort of actually going to set it up in Alexa or my phone or whatever actually could just go take the laundry basket upstairs. But one of the things my wife always says to me is, her love language is just execution, right? If she says
acts of service.
Acts of service is a big thing. So I told myself, okay, I'm going to do it. Then I realized, wait a minute, this is a moment of uncomfortable sharing is not just taking it up.
Maybe my husband is also listening, and my love language is acts of service too.
I feel like it's such a good example, and I think a lot of husbands. And it was so simple because I just said, you know what, I'm going to just stop, and I'm going to just get up and take it up now, even though it's a direct break in my flow. I was like in the flow, and I was just like banging away at emails. I was like in the flow of energy, and then I was asked to do this, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll fit it into my. When my flow ends, that will be the perfect time for me to take it up. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it right now. She didn't know I did it right now. She had already left. So I just got up and I just did it that moment. It sounds like such a stupid example, but it's those little things.
It is so not a stupid example. I love it.
And I was so proud of myself.
And
you
should be.
I was like, I'm a Kabbalist.
You should be.
When I put that basket up, and then my opponent wanted me to go up and tell her.
Yes, I knew it.
And here's the other thing that probably it didn't happen to me, but I'm sure it will happen again when I do this thing, and I'm very proud of myself. She'll not know that I did it, or someone else will move it somewhere else, and then she'll be like, "Oh, you didn't do it," and then it'll be another test where I'll be like, I'll just pause.
You know you did it.
And
it doesn't matter what recognition you get.
So that's the second test, where you take the ego hit, knowing you did the act of sharing. And then there's a third test that comes after that, because then you're so proud of yourself that you just passed 2 tests that the opponent just says you're a Kabbalist. And then you have to say no, and you start all over.
And then
again.
you tell 50,000 people about it on your podcast.
There it is. There you go. And then I talk about it.
And he has recognition and approval from me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go.
But that's
eventually he gets paid.
But by the way, you didn't even realize it that through that whole example, you're illustrating how you can be doing something outside of your comfort zone. You can go against your nature. You can be inconvenienced, attacked by your opponent, and still be joyful.
It can be something you're already doing, but you just do it in a different way. It's something, you might be doing an act of sharing, but maybe in the way you do it, how quickly you do it with a smile, or you do it with like the poo face, the resting I hate you face. So it can be an action that you're already accustomed to doing, but doing it with a different consciousness.
Well, but that's even, we had Paul made a joke. So if I'm cranky when I'm doing it, does it still count? That part of we think that the choice is to share or not. Mm-hmm. The real choice, the real free will is how am I going to do it? What energy am I going to do it? So David can choose to sing a song up the stairs, taking up the laundry basket, and let the energy diminish from the action that he's doing, or he can do it silently and hope. You know what I'm saying? It really is so much more about the energy that you put into it than it is about the action itself.
If you do it and you hate doing it, that's the first step. But there's so many levels to it. Someone just wrote, I've been doing secret acts of generosity, and then I'm hoping that people will catch me doing it.
I love that.
That's it. And these are the different secrets. So you catch that part of your negativity. So you broke your laziness and you're doing the action of sharing. And then there's another part of your tikkun, your correction, your negativity that comes up that says, I hope somebody sees me. And then you have to overcome that. And then there's another part that says, wow, you even overcame that. Like there's so many different secrets and layers that make our sharing so powerful.
And that goes back to, again, being really knowing who you are, being honest with yourself, knowing authentically, I feel like it, I don't feel like it, but I have a choice what energy I put into it.
Right.
Can I ask you a question, not from just something I thought about that we didn't talk about?
Sure.
Why should we have joy?
Why should we have joy?
Like why is it essential? Why can't we just be kind of blasé?
Why can't I just be depressed? Leave me alone.
Externally, I'm still going to share. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to be a nice person. I'm not going to be selfish.
Yep.
But what's the big deal about? Why do the Kabbalists say joy is so? What's the benefit of being joyful?
I'm not going to answer your question right away. I'm going to answer a different question.
You only have 8 minutes to answer it. So
I'm going to answer a different question that I think you also asked and people are thinking. I sometimes do think there's value. I could be wrong. I give myself permission to just not be happy for like a straight hour. Like I'll have like a straight hour where I know there's things I could do to shift my mood, but I'll just stay like upset. Mm-hmm. And is it because I'm like a data analyst. Like I want to know what that feels like. I want to know what it feels like. I want to go into it. I want to feel all those bad thoughts. I want to see the bad thoughts because I also feel like a part of me becomes desensitized to emotion if I'm always trying to be at this frequency of it's all for the good. It's all good. It's certainty. And then all of a sudden I realize I'm not sensitive to other people. So I do have, but I think what's different about it is that I do choose it. I said, all right.
Right. So we spoke about that a few weeks ago.
I'm going to have a straight hour of depression right now.
As long as nobody put you in that box.
Right, you have to choose.
So
that is true. So I'll like say, all right, now we got a straight hour of depression. I try to do it when no one's around because then it's selfish. Like people need you and you're like in your depression. Yeah. So you can't really do it that way. But so I think there is a value to that. Now, my answer to your question may not be practical, but I think that joy or happiness is an indication that you have revealed the light inside your vessel. So like this idea that the light's not revealed in our world, it's our responsibility to reveal it. So when I'm not happy and I'm sad, it's kind of like, I'm kind of like going against creation. I'm not doing my part. So I look at happiness as that thing that the creator is revealed. The light is revealed in its totality, which is the whole purpose of creation. Again, it's not a practical example for other people. That's how my brain works. Like I feel like I'm on this mission to build a relationship with the creator and to reveal the creator's light in this world. So if I have a whole day where I'm not happy, I'm like, well, that was a wasted day because the whole point is that each day be filled with that light of joy. So that's my unpractical answer.
Unpractical. So let's talk about some 30 seconds of practical
What's your
incentive.
practical answer?
No, again, in my preparation for today's class, I was looking for deeper secrets and wisdom and something meaningful also for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy if everybody listening gets something out of it, but I know it's in my lane for a reason and I want to find my gift. The Kabbalists talk about how that if we don't have that energy of joy to whatever degree, and it's relative to the individual, nobody's got the measuring stick for joy to share with anybody else. It's actually funny, somebody wrote it here. It makes, it's good for your health. The Kabbalists teach that joy strengthens the immune system, not just the physical immune system, also the spiritual immune system. If you are connected to that energy of joy, you are less vulnerable to other people's negative energy. So that to me is a huge incentive, right?
That's good.
I know I can stay in my lane. What if somebody gets in my lane? If I'm connected to that energy of joy, I'm going to be less vulnerable to
it builds the immune system.
whatever they're
Spiritual
throwing
immune
at me.
system, absolutely.
Number two, and this is a good segue to next week's show, is that I'm blocking my, for lack of a better descriptor, psychic abilities. If I'm not connected to that energy of joy, if I'm connected to sadness and depression, like you were saying, I'm cutting off the communication system between me and source. So, it actually is, when you think about it, that's one of the more frustrating ones, because when you're in a dark situation and you can't see the end of the tunnel, if you're sad about it, you're blocking your ability to see the end of the tunnel. You're blocking your ability to see the value of the situation in your process.
That's good.
So I remember, again, this for me being, as a Pisces, again, ruled by emotion, such a game changer for me is one of the teachers in a Kabbalah 1 class saying, even though I can't see the purpose, I'm happy that it's in my life because I know the system of the universe is perfect. And I can connect to that joy without knowing. I don't need the knowledge to be connected to that joy. And so the two go hand in hand. And the other scary thing the Kabbalists teach about not being connected to that mindset of joy is that maybe it's the same thing as the immune system, but it's like we leave ourselves vulnerable to negative energy. If we're in a negative headspace, we're more vulnerable to more negativity. And, a lot of people look for the external things to protect them. This is an internal protection, immune system booster, but also being able to recognize that I can make myself susceptible to other people's negative words, negative energy, negative scenarios. And that you can either look at it as, well, why bother? Or you can say, wow, that is really empowering. I want to be more connected to that energy of joy. And this week is going to throw us opportunities left and right to do those things, to be honest with ourselves, to choose, regardless of what's going on, whatever situations we see in our life, to choose joy, to get outside of our comfort zone when it comes to sharing for the sake of strengthening that energy of joy.
I know every show we like to ask something from our audience. People always ask what they can do for us. It's a free show. We're here to add value to you. Every time you can share our show and broaden our audience beyond an incredible audience that we already have. Every time you can rate or review us on our podcast or on Facebook, that is super helpful. I don't think we have anything else promotional. I know we have the Kabbalah 1 with Eitan. I think we're probably beyond that. People are joining that. We'll probably have another Kabbalah 1 coming up.
We'll be offering them in multiple languages in the near future.
I know we have a program. I can't find the link. The link I was given doesn't work, but I know we have a program now for all the people who are members of Kabbalah.com. They get a free Zohar. Like, we're raising money to give them a free Zohar.
I was going to save that for next week.
You were going to save that for next week? All right.
So we can get a slide up and links and everything.
But there's so many people all around the world that you've wanted the ancient text of the Zohar, which all the secrets come from. It's just having the Zohar in your home is so powerful. It's so much light, it's protection, it's energy. The book costs a lot of money, obviously, because to print and put it all together, it's about $250. It's 23 volumes. But it is it's like everything. You've got the Zohar, you've got it made. And it's been cost prohibitive sometimes in the past for people to own one. So we've done a fundraising effort that donors have donated money to give free Zohars. All you got to do is pay for the shipping. Free Zohars to anyone in the world if you want to gift it to a family or friend, or just even for yourself. You may be studying, you don't have a Zohar. So we'll give them that information next week. You can ask, if you have a Kabbalah teacher or someone that you're in touch with, you can ask them. That promotion is going on now. It's not even a promotion. It's just us giving back. We want to keep giving to our community, and those of you who are listening and following us.
Yeah. And like we said, next week we're going to be talking not only about the Zohar, but about certainty in uncertain times. So you don't want to miss that. Again, you can find us on Facebook, IGTV, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. I want to thank you all for joining us, for sharing the show, rating and reviewing, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.